Bismillah Rahmanir Rahim. Assalamu alaikum. Syed Farooq Hasan is back with a new episode of Sky is the Limit. Today I happen to be with a very interesting personality. A person who emerged as an entrepreneur, accidentally or by purpose, that we have to ask her. But she's really made a name for herself in this entrepreneurial venture that she took. And she has a very inspiring story. So I thought, I met her and I said, this is something that needs to be shared with the world and with my viewers. So today I happen to be with Mahrukh Beyg. Now Mahrukh Beyg is the founder of Haryali market in Pakistan. What is Haryali market? What does it do? What's the scope? That we'll find out. But besides that, she's a very decorated person. She got the Beacon House Award for Entrepreneurship in 2024. She is also named in the Rosie Power 500 Most Influential Business Leaders list. She's a panelist at Aga Khan University. She is also involved in mentoring and training. And she's also the Digital Food Community winner 2022. So, besides these awards, a very interesting personality. So, let's meet Mahrukh Beyg. Assalamu alaikum, Mahrukh.
Assalamu alaikum, ji. How are you? You're most welcome
Thank
at
you
my
very
house.
much. Such a pleasure being in your aesthetically very well designed house.
Thank you.
Thank you for inviting us
You're most
and
welcome.
agreeing to share your inspiring story with the world.
My pleasure.
What makes Mahrukh Beyg Mahrukh Beyg? That's what I want to know. So, let's start from the basics. Where were you born and where were you raised?
I was born in Lahore and I was raised in Lahore. I have lived primarily 3 decades in Lahore.
Okay.
And I went for schooling. I went to Beacon House through and through.
Okay.
From KG till metric.
Were you the youngest in the house?
I am the youngest in the house. We are
Okay.
3 sisters and I'm the youngest.
No brothers?
No brothers.
Okay, so women rules.
Women rules and more women rights.
Okay.
But
Okay.
very less exposure to knowing that we weren't exposed too much to guys or whatever, so we were very protected. We were raised very protectively by our parents.
Okay.
But we were raised very nicely and very, with a very international point of view on life.
Okay.
Usually what happens is that, which I believe is a setback when raising women. They raise them with a very provincial mindset, that you have to be a certain way. But mashallah, I'm very blessed to have the parents that I have. And my
Okay.
father was a very, there was no divide. I mean, you could do anything if you just worked hard.
He was in service? Or?
Yeah, he was a civil servant.
Oh, okay.
And he worked for Pakistan, and he was a very nationalist kind of a person.
Wow.
So, seen both wars and, the partition also, and so very nationalist. It was more about, I never realized till I actually changed cities that there was a divide between provinces ever, because my father had worked with mostly all of the provinces. So it I felt that Pakistan was all mine. I still feel that, by the way, despite a lot of things changing when you move cities and you realize you're a Lahori, I'm this.
We are all Pakistanis
We are all Pakistanis first and foremost.
Yes. Like provinces.
So I was raised in a household where we were enabled a lot.
Oh, okay. Who had more influence on you? Your elder sister, your middle sister?
My father.
Your father?
My father.
Okay.
And of course, I was the youngest, so I saw him dealing with my sisters and how he worked really hard on them. My both sisters were debaters, and they won every single debate they went to. They used to write it together.
So you had a lot of pressure on your shoulders while you were a kid, huh? To fill in those shoes.
Or maybe I was the spoiled person, the young one. But I actually, when you're young, and my elder sister is 7 years older to me, and
Okay.
the other one is 5 years older to me, 6.5 and 5. So you learn by watching. And I had the privilege to have elder sisters and my father and my mother dealing with them, because I learned by default.
Oh, okay.
You understand, when they are discussing something or they are doing something together,
So you pick up those
I am
lines.
there because I have nothing to do, and I will be watching and hearing and talking about nuclear, a debate on whether nuclear power is good for you or it's not good for you, for the world. And so I was by default getting information which I did not know I was storing also.
Okay.
So yeah, it was a blessing to be the youngest in the family.
And you joined the Beacon House School, and your elder sisters were also.
They are also born. They are also blue-blooded, as you would call Beaconites.
And how were you an extrovert or an outgoing kind of a kid, or a naughty kid, or a very studious teacher's pet kind of a student?
No, I wasn't.
You weren't.
I'm very adventurous. So I was an adventurous person since I was a child. Yeah, I would do stuff which but I was inquisitive. I was not destructive, but I was inquisitive. It sometimes happens that you do stuff that which causes a little bit of harm somewhere or the other in experiment, or doing some physics experiments.
Collateral damage.
Collateral damage. Some eyebrows blown away of some cousins, or some burns here and there, trying to do something with halogen balloons and all. So yeah, we've had a lot of fun, but I was inquisitive.
Okay.
I was a reader, and I was very active as a child.
Okay.
But I was an easy child. I was but I was a child who questioned everything a lot.
Okay.
I was the person who would ask you a lot of questions and will call you out on a lot of things.
Put you on the spot.
Put you on the spot, and I would question the society, the norms, the rules. I will not, you have to give me logic.
Okay.
You have to give me, there's a reason behind it.
You can't just say it for the sake of saying.
I am not going to follow otherwise. I'm not a follower at all.
Okay.
You need to convince me. So I was like that since I was a child.
Okay.
And
And you were good in debates and
yes,
dramatics.
I did that, and I sang till Punjab level. My father really encouraged me to sing. My sisters were learning the sitar because they were in home mix at that time, home economics, and they had a subject, and so I was that kind. If they're learning it and I'm 9, I will still learn it.
Wow.
And I still remember that my father was teaching my elder sisters how to drive. And I said, I will drive too, equality. And I was in grade 3 at that time. And then he said, and he had to put me in his lap, but he had to do it for me once so that I feel that it's all equal. So I was that kind of a kid who would not take...
Adventurous.
Very adventurous.
And what about in studies? Were you like average
I was above average.
Okay.
I mean, I did score an A in all 7 subjects.
Oh, okay.
I just flunked. Then I got a C in one, which is our national language, which I'm very embarrassed about, and I'm constantly trying to rectify that. Because it's not something to be proud of. I'm very ashamed at the fact that I didn't work hard at learning Urdu, because I love the language. But
you have to have a flair, and I can understand. It's very understandable. Every kid, every student has a flair for a certain subject. So tell me, your sisters were they were elder to you, and obviously they grew up before you. Did they go into certain professions? Or?
No, the trend in our family was, because there's always been a success rate of women getting married very early. That was the norm. That was the tradition in our family. That was something normal in our family. We were raised to feel that it's okay to get. It was something that we didn't question. So my both sisters also got married at the age of 18 and 19 respectively, and mashallah, they lucked out. They were happy. They're very happy in their marriages.
Okay.
They've been married for 35 or 34 years respectively.
So what did you envision when you were growing up, when you were in your school? Did you want to become someone like a lawyer, a doctor,
I did want to
architect?
become a doctor. But initially when you're 16 and you're engaged, because I got engaged at 16.
Oh, okay.
My metric result wasn't out at that time and I got engaged.
Oh, okay.
So your trajectory and your direction automatically changes.
The ambition part took a backseat and you said, okay, let's go with the flow.
Yeah, because the flow worked for my elder sisters, and of course you never think that it's not going to work out.
So you got married at 17?
18.
18. Oh, okay, okay. And but you did continue your study, right?
I did. Okay, so this is something that I don't talk about. I've never talked about it before, but I was in Kinnaird. I walked into Kinnaird on merit, which was a great thing.
Kinnaird is one of the best colleges.
It is, and that is probably one of my best experiences in life is going to Kinnaird, meeting the best people that I've met and who are still a part of my life, and that is the best thing that I made friends for life in that place, and I learned a lot. Going from a school to a college, of course, you've never experienced that. You never have that kind of freedom. My parents, I'm telling you, were very protective. So we were not allowed to go to any friends' homes. We were not allowed to even sit. If I was supposed to go to a friend's house on a birthday, my sister or my mom would accompany me with at that time.
Fair enough.
So at that time is what it was acceptable. though a little overbearing, I believe now, but it was something sort of a norm at that time. So when I went to Kinnaid, it was like a fresh of, it was a breath of fresh air.
Yeah.
For the fact that it was freedom. I wasn't wearing a uniform, and then I met so many people from different schools and places and backgrounds and cities, and so it was a good exposure. I got married in third year. I did try to continue my.
And what subjects did you take in your intermediate life?
I took psychology. In my FA, it was psychology, and then later on it was applied psychology, Persian,
so
and
general
journalism,
sciences, like
and journalism. Yeah, it was art sciences and all. So that said, it was a great time. I would have to admit I had more fun in college than anything else, and but then I got married, and the fun ended. and as you say, when you get married in Pakistan, and if you're having trouble and problems in marriages, the quick fix is have a kid. And I was 19, naive, a child, coming from a very protective household. And so I started expecting, and so I actually dropped out of college. I have not completed my fourth year, and so I'm a dropout.
To raise your child,
because I had a baby, right during the time that the exams were taking place.
Okay.
And I was supposed to give my exams, but I went into premature labor about 2 months earlier than it was supposed to be. And so I couldn't give my exams.
Okay.
And then life unfolded in such a way that I just couldn't wrap my... things happened so much in my life at that time, which were very traumatic, that giving your exams or studying was the last thing. Surviving at that time was the only thing that was... Surviving, focus. Staying alive and keeping a kid alive. Because when I had my child, somehow, ironically, I wouldn't want to go too much into it, but I lost the house, we lost... everything, all finances, by some way or the other, everything.
Okay.
We had no, the people that we were married, I got married into, it was complete abandonment at that time.
Okay. So troubled times,
Troubled times, and so education takes a really back seat when you're surviving and trying to just put bread on the table, or just trying to understand where do you go from there.
Right. So that must have instigated that feeling in you that you need to be on your own feet and do something.
Yeah, I did. At that time, it was the most helpless time. One of the most helpless times of my life. And it was, imagine being 19 and a half, 20. Imagine just becoming a mom. And now that is a completely new portfolio.
So from a doctor to a mom.
Yeah, and from just a daughter, just a fun, loving, adventurous person, to just becoming a mom. And then trying to grasp the idea of being a mother at that age, and then not having stability in your life in any way, whether it was a house or finances or a spouse or anything, because at that time everything just crashed down. At that time I realized that I cannot depend on anyone, though my parents were very supportive, very, very supportive, but I don't have a brother, and I have huge integrity issues. I will never ask anybody for help. I have learned to ask now, but at that time I thought that they've done enough, and
I have to be on my own.
Yeah, and because I saw everybody suffering because of me, though I was collateral in the whole situation, but so I didn't want to add to their worries. So at that time I knew that I have to do something where I have to step up, because it's going to be me who's going to save me.
Yeah.
There's nobody that you can depend on.
Yeah.
And I had a little baby to take care of.
Yeah.
And I have to give him the life that I at least had for myself, because he deserves that.
Obviously you would want to give the best.
Yeah, and yeah, so that was you can say the motivating factor, that I want to give my son.
So what did you do in those times? Like, troubled times, financial instability, a kid that you have to look after, and totally raw, you're not like, you haven't gotten any professional degree and all.
No.
What did you do?
So I handed everything. I started, though I am creative, so I started, I knew that I have to do something. So even at that time, I had no confidence at that time. I was not sure of who I am at that time because there were too many roles I was juggling. I was a wife, I was a mother, I was a daughter, I was a villain in somebody's, in my, in a lot of people's lives. So there was a lot of energy that I was getting. So there was, I have to admit, I had zero confidence.
Okay.
But I pretended to be. I pretended to have confidence. I
And
believe
that you are in control of yourself.
I believe that fake it till you make it. So I faked it a lot, and I started a company. I started a small business of making lamps.
Who gave you that idea?
I don't know. I just felt that
but
I
some-
saw
you
it
would have
somewhere, or some magazine, or some movie that I was watching, some Hollywood movie where I saw a lamp with seashells in it, and I thought that's just so nice. You can fill up a glass jar with memorabilia and create something out of it. So I started making that, getting holes drilled in glass jars, which I used to buy, and it was a great business. They sold every time I made them. They sold.
Yeah.
But I had to really work at selling them, because at that time there was no digital media. There was you didn't have any exposure to where do you sell a product. So one lesson which I'll get back to later on is that I learned that you can make things. You can be creative, you can have passion, you can have the skill to do certain things, you can make them, but where do you sell them? Because it is about economics in the end.
You have to have a market.
You have to have a market. You have to have an audience. You can go to 2 big departmental stores and just stack them there, but that is controlled viewership. So I had to shut it down because they weren't selling as fast as I wanted them to sell. So it was costing me more money and taking a lot of time. So I shut that down. So at that time, the person that I was married to, they were into the carpet business. So then we opened up a small, decorated an entire room in our house and started selling rugs. And
From your house?
From your house. And at that time also, and that helped us make ends meet for a little while. Though the person that I was married to at that time was working also. But it's a child, rent, everything. And I refused to take hand-me-outs from anyone at that time. I started selling rugs, Afghani rugs. We used to go to Peshawar or get it from there. And then I started stocking at a departmental store here also. But the theft happened. A lot of you have to control theft when it's leakage and pilferage or whatever you call it. But that's how if you've given 100 pieces, they've sold 80, but there are 20 missing. So eventually, I realized, okay, you need control.
That will eat your profit.
At that time, the lesson I learned was you need control of your product also. Wherever you're putting it, you need to have control over it also, because it is your asset.
Yeah.
And it goes on credit. So that shut down. And then I started doing interiors for people, because I thought, okay, this does not require any product, does not require any investment. This is my own talent, it's within.
So interiors, when you say, you mean designing?
I did the whole, like if you give me a blank house, I'll design the rooms for you.
The walls, the
colors,
scheme.
the curtains, if it need curtains, blind, minimalism look, whatever, according to you, but of course with my style.
But did you have any
no, it's just
degree
natural,
or
no,
nothing like
nothing.
that? So people believed in you?
Yeah,
I'm sure there must be your friends.
Because they came to my house to buy the rugs and they liked
And
how
they would
I'd done
see
it.
the-
So my house was actually the selling point.
Okay.
So they liked it and they're like, we like what you've done.
So
Can
this
you
is
do
like
this?
a natural born talent.
It is something that, but it comes from a lot of reading. I do a lot of reading, and I did a lot of reading about architecture and house designs, and just because I was bored. Then I started doing interiors, and that was the only time my father ever always supported me, whatever I did. He always used to be a spectator and being there at the back and saying, okay, you can do it. But when I started doing interiors, there was, I had to drop my child. He was 8 months old, or I think a year old, to my dad and go and pick up the payment. So I went there and I came back after 4 hours, and he said, why are you so late? And I said, okay, they made me wait for the check. And he said, you waited outside their door. And I said, yeah, they made me wait about 4 hours, and the accountant wasn't there. And he said, don't do this. You're better than this. Do something different. And he's never asked me for anything. He's a father who rarely interferes in your life. And the best thing about what I've learned from his is that make mistakes. He was proud when I made mistakes.
You only learn when you make mistakes.
And so he actually wanted me to make a lot of mistakes, because only then I would know what I like and what I don't like. And that said, so I left it.
So you left
I left
designing.
that. Yeah, I left that because I I thought that, okay, this, if he's saying it, he never says anything, so there must be some thought, he must have thought about it and said something and stopped me for it. After that, I started a regular, I did a, then I knew I don't have a degree. And I knew that I need to make, my son needs to go to school and I need to pay his dues and all for his admission and all. So then I was like, I can't go back to college right now. So I did a course from London School of Montessori at that time. This is way back in the 90s, late 90s. And because
you wanted to get into education.
I wanted to get into education, and I wanted to.
It was a conscious decision.
It was a conscious decision because I had to educate my kid. We weren't in a position to, pay dues of that school that I wanted to send him to. That was one of the leading schools in Lahore. And so the best way was to actually become a teacher there, and then
it becomes free.
Yeah, it becomes free after a couple of months, and you go with the child and you come with the child, and I was very protective about that child of mine, and so I did a course from London School of Montessori at that time because that made me eligible, that made me a certified Montessori teacher, and that was somebody. Everybody in Pakistan, when you join a school, they learn at the job. They learn the processes, why do you use these tools, why do you use these apparatus to teach the kids. But nobody knows the science behind them. I did. I had worked on myself. That's what I'm saying. Wherever I kind of lacked, I knew that I have to make up for it in some way or the other.
And you did?
I did. So that way then I joined a school called Kids Campus in Lahore, and I taught there for 7 years. I took a break for 2 years, had another baby, then joined again. It was great. I had a great experience there also. I learned a lot, I met a lot of people. But after that I realized this is not my calling.
So from making lamps to designing for people and then teaching,
yeah.
You, after probing in all these fields, you realized that no, you want to do something different.
I thought I'm bigger than this.
Okay.
I can do better than this.
All right.
And so the day I taught there for a while, there was another school. They offered me a vice principal slot.
So you didn't take the vice principal slot?
No, I didn't.
Okay.
And I didn't. And I at that time life was a little stable, and so I took about 2 years off as a sabbatical, and I enjoyed my life and I realized what I wanted to do. I discovered a lot about myself and self-catharsis and all of that. And then after that, I started volunteering with a lot of people, with a few NGOs which I don't want to name, but I started volunteering with people with child abuse and people with terminal diseases and all.
Okay.
So it was on and off. I was working for the people, and that I enjoyed a lot.
So after these two years sabbatical that you did, what did you do after that?
Okay, then I got really unwell. I was, because of the life that I had, at 26 I was diagnosed with one autoimmune disorder, and after
just
that,
hold your thought there, Mahrukh. We have to take a short break, but very intense story of Mahrukh that we are listening to. But there's a turnaround that will be disclosed to you after this break. So don't go anywhere. Welcome back to Sky's the Limit with Farooq Hasan, and I wanted to show you a different portion of Mahrukh's house, since it's a very, very well made, aesthetically well made house. So I thought I'll expose another corner. So this is another wall that you see behind me. So Mahrukh, you were telling me you started teaching at this school, Kids Campus.
Yep.
And then you got an offer for vice principal, but you thought that no, you want to do something on your own. You didn't take that.
Yeah.
But after that, you became sick.
Yeah, I did.
Okay.
On and off since
What happened?
my early 20s, I have been suffering from several autoimmune disorders, which now is the research proves that their onset is because of stress.
Oh, okay.
And that's the reason, that's the catalyst. And that I had in abundance in my
And
life.
you never knew that you would be suffering like this?
No, I did not
Post.
know. And the point is that it was not even diagnosed properly initially. At 22, I suffered from arthritis for a year. And it just came out of nowhere. But thankfully, and thank God, it was a non-reactive arthritis, which goes away eventually after a year. Most painful year of my life. At 25, I was diagnosed with vitiligo, which is called pulberry in layman terms.
Yeah.
And so for that, the medical treatment was for a year, and it was pretty hardcore, cortisones and all of these steroids, which then affected my other organs, because obviously my immune system is already weak, and the doctors could not identify the fact that I have autoimmune diseases. They thought they're independent diseases. And so then at the age of 26, I had Hashimoto thyroiditis. So I've been taking medicines for all of these.
You've become a doctor, I
Yeah,
think.
I
By
am.
this time, huh? The way you're talking about these terminologies, huh?
And so Hashimoto thyroiditis is a thyroid disorder in which your thyroid is primarily 90% dead.
Oh.
And so you have to take a hormone.
Steroids.
You have to take hormone by mouth for life.
Oh.
So that said, obviously it impacted my life. It impacted other, if you're taking medicine, so many medicines, it does affect your liver.
Yeah.
And eventually, doctors or anybody else, or even you don't take care of yourself in a way that if they've prescribed you 10 medicines, you will take those 10 medicines. They're like, that's where I'm going to heal.
Yeah.
You don't realize it, you don't heal. You heal with effective lifestyle changes, which in your 20s, you take it for granted too much. And so I was just following prescription and all of that, but eventually my liver gave in. So at the age of 32, just sitting, going to a wedding, was all dressed up, ready to go, and I just started feeling unwell. And so anyways, the symptoms, whatever they were, we went to the hospital and they said it's chronic liver failure. So the ALTs and ASTs were off the charts. And then for 42 days, it stayed like that. And I was sort of sent home because I wanted to go home because you don't want to stay in a hospital more than 3 days. And I was like, if I'm going to go, I want to be in my... I'm going to
become more sick.
And I want to go home because it's very uncomfortable, hospitals. But 42 days, I was in and out of consciousness, because when your liver's not working, there's no glucose being made in your body, so you have zero energy whatsoever. Though you can hear things and you can feel things, but
you can't talk. You don't have the energy to talk.
You don't have the energy to open your eyes. So I think I used to open up my eyes once a day.
My God.
And but my father at that time and my family at that time, but they fed me, because you can't take any solids, and so you're only on liquids.
Yeah, liquid diet.
Completely liquid. And so it started with 1 glass of sugarcane organic juice that my father used to get for me at that time. And then I eventually, after 2-3 weeks, it became to 4 glasses of sugarcane juice being sipped through my mouth. And eventually, it was a miracle, I believe, that on the 42nd day, I had the energy to sit. And I went into recovery, which people don't understand. Doctors did not understand. The ones who were treating me did not understand. But I knew that it's because of my dad's and my mother's and everybody's prayers.
And your
willpower, and the fact that Allah wanted me to have a little more years. That was a turning point in my life. Before that, there was a Mahrukh, and after that, there was another Mahrukh.
So pre and post.
Yes. Before that, it was a survival Mahrukh, the angry Mahrukh. Why did it happen to me, Mahrukh? Why am I struggling so much? After that, it was like, thank you for everything, for all the struggles.
Thank you for life.
Thank you for life. Thank you for my breath. Thank you for everything, even the troubles. Because they make you find out strength in yourself, which you really did not know exist. I still remember that I opened up my cupboards the 3 weeks after when I could stand up and I had the energy. I emptied my cupboards of all the things that I did not need. There were about 170 articles. There were bags, there were shoes, there were clothes, there were everything. I took them all and I gave it to Edie at that moment in time. It was decluttering my life from everything that was unnecessary. And so that's where the change started coming in. At that time also I started because we were in a comfortable situation financially, and we were stable. So that time I started making friends. And so it was a time when I was discovering myself and what I want to do. And I still remember my mother having a conversation with me where she said, "Okay, you mashallah are sorted now. You have 2 boys, you have your initial issues are finished, you are sitting in your own home." I made a very small, tiny home for myself. And she said, now you can relax. And I still remember saying, no.
I want to do something.
I want an. And at that time I had more power in me and
Okay.
more strength in myself.
Yeah.
Because when you survive something like that,
It's a renewed passion, basically.
a renewed passion and renewed faith in yourself. Because if you can recover from that,
Yeah.
because you have self-belief, you can do anything you want in your life. And I still remember saying, "Kid, no, I have to do something.
Okay.
I have to make my own name," which I said that I want to be known for my own self
Yeah.
rather than being by association with anyone
Fair
else.
enough.
Yeah. So
And that's when the big idea
yeah,
came?
Yeah, that happened at a very interesting supper club. So I was part of the first supper club, if you are known to the idea. So the idea of supper club is that random strangers will meet. We meet, Facebook was pretty new at that time. So there was a food forum at that time called Pakistan Food Forum. So there were 5-6 people there who were like-minded and foodies. And we all started talking about having different cuisines, but of course we can't travel for them. So everybody could cook a different cuisine. So the supper club concept in the world is that strangers would meet at one person's home. They'll all pitch in for the money of the food, of the cost of the food, but one person who's an expert in it will cook it. And
the rest will eat.
And the rest will eat. But it will be a home-cooked, high-end 5-course meal or a 6-course meal.
Okay.
So we started that with about 6 friends.
In Lahore?
6 strangers.
In Lahore?
In Lahore, completely 6 strangers.
Okay. How did you meet up? Through
Through
social media?
Through social media. Through
Okay.
that food forum.
Okay.
Because we were all making posts of the food that we like, and we all started commenting.
That's a very interesting concept, actually.
Yeah, and we all started commenting, and then one person said this is being done, and then we created an entire group there. Then we were screening people, the kind of we would want in that group. So initially 8 people registered for that group, and we met for the first time in somebody's home. We all hosted dinners. I did a Rajasthani thali dinner, somebody did a Vietnamese dinner. And that's where, when people obviously we all told each other our stories and our strengths and all. And so I was pretty big on eating healthy at that time, because after recovering from that I realized food is the only thing that kills you. So everybody got together, and 6 people, it just came up. And it all said, let's do a market together. And there were 2 people or 3 people who were interested in it. Initially, we started with 3 of those people. And the first market was done in 2012.
Haryali market?
No, it was called Khalis at that time.
Khalis?
It was called Khalis at that time. So we did about 11 markets or 12 markets in 2012.
So once a month, kind of?
It was a once a month at that time, initially.
And what was the venue?
The venue was Gulbarg. It was a small 4-canal area, and we just started with 30 stalls.
Okay.
And we did it for a year at that time.
And those stalls were like for vegetables, organic?
They were primarily for everything with cottage industry, which was food related. It would be, we had 4 restaurants at the first Khalis market. 4 restaurants serving food. We had 26 product stalls which had dips and sauces and achars and wheat and people doing gluten-free stuff. Even at that time, we would have people selling eggs. We will have people selling cheeses. So it was pretty much, initially it was a farmer's market. That's how it started, as a hardcore farmer's market where people could come and sell their produce, but primarily food related.
And your role was to basically, the concept, the idea was your role, and to sell those stalls and to make it happen?
That was everybody's idea.
Okay.
I cannot take credit for it.
Okay.
We were 6 people, but yes, initially it was a farmer's market, and initially it was 2 people who thought about it and took the initiative. If I say, no, I was the one who said, let's do this, no, there were more people saying the same thing.
Fair enough.
And it was such a good mix of people, but there were 2 people, there was me and there was another woman and another person, a man, who started this. We're not together anymore, though we're all doing different things at the moment. But the other 5 people, they were working as hard with us on the entire project with, they had nothing to take home from it. And initially it was not about money. It was
not
it
commercial.
was not about money. It was just about doing something positive. And but after we did,
but a unique concept. I haven't heard of such a market.
Well, if you travel abroad and you go to, if you're there on a Sunday, you're lucky enough. You will attend. The concept is not original. I can't take credit.
No, but for
it.
Pakistan.
For Pakistan, it was the first farmers market ever.
That's what
That was the first ever farmers market hosted, and the only one till date, other than one other, which is a free entry event, which we'll discuss a little more after.
Okay.
But so there were 6 people. And the idea was that we were all throwing ideas. So if I say it was primarily my idea, no, it wasn't.
Fair enough. It was a collective decision.
It was a collective thing, and it was a lot of fun. It was because we all were strangers. We wanted to do something together, something for the community. At that time, it wasn't about community. It was about selling food. It was out of the passion.
And it was an open house. Anyone could walk in.
It is an open house. It is always a free entry.
Not a ticketed event.
Not ticketed event.
Okay. And do you advertise it? Do you publicize it?
At that time we didn't. It was only in that specific food.
By invitation or
it was
by
only
word of
in
mouth?
that specific food forum on a digital
All right.
platform. And so from there, it was hit and miss. We were trying, we were doing stuff. But then eventually what happened was that I realized that it can be better. It can become something else. So I then mushroomed out of it. That there was a falling out or whatever it was. Ideas did not match with other people. One of the persons left for abroad, and so then I thought that I won't be a part of this anymore because it's supposed to be positive, but it's not. But then what we did was I rebranded it, renamed it, relaunched it, and it primarily did not stay as a farmers market.
It became a Haryali market.
It became Haryali.
Okay, and when was this?
This was 2014.
Okay.
I did partner with another person also for the Lahore chapter because of course it's better when there are more people in it. So for the Lahore chapter, as long as whichever market we conduct in Lahore, there is another person involved.
So till 2014, it wasn't a commercial event or a commercial?
It was a commercial event, but on a little smaller scale. Like the attendees would be around 1,000 to 1,500 people, which was pretty decent.
It was a day long? Or
It's a day. Haryali has always been a day event.
Day long.
So at that time, it was pretty decent. It was about 2,000 people showing up in 8 hours, and because there were 30 stalls. But when my idea was much bigger, I wanted to include a lot of brands, a lot of different cottage industries in it, which were being completely neglected because of my experience from running 2 businesses and failing at them, because at that time there weren't any platforms, which I initially talked about, that doing the lamps thing, doing the rugs thing, if I had platforms to sell, I could have had customers. So I wanted to include a lot of people in it. For that, I needed to have my own vision and then broaden it to a point where it's become what it has become now. From a market that started with 30 stalls to a market which has 225 businesses showcasing.
Wow.
I'm very proud to share that so far with Haryali in the last 12 years that I've been conducting Haryali, 6,700 businesses have used Haryali as a platform to launch their brands.
And it's still once a month?
No, it's because of it's a seasonal market, because of the weather. Because if the weather permitted us to do it, we would have done it. But it starts in September and the season ends in April.
And how do you plan to expand it?
Well, I want to take it now to different cities of Pakistan because
So till now it's only in Lahore?
It's only in Lahore,
Okay.
not by choice, but because it's a lot of work. Karachi is a completely different market.
Yes.
I will be taking it to Karachi.
And a bigger market.
Yes. 2025, definitely it's going to happen in Karachi.
Okay.
And I've already put it...
So the brand is now registered under your name?
Yeah, it is
Haryali Market?
Yes. So Haryali Market is registered as a sole proprietorship. And we will have partners for different cities,
okay,
which will be strategic alliances. So we do have a partner for Lahore, called Sundus, and then in Karachi we are scouting for one, or because you have to have people helping you. It's not a one-person job.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
And Haryali is known to be a supporter of women-led businesses specifically.
Yes, it is.
Would you say that's correct?
Yes.
And why?
Women need all the help they require. In Pakistan, for a woman to start a business is going to cause she's going to face a lot of resistance. It's going to start from the house, then it's going to start from the people she's asking help from. I've heard it so many times, why do you want to work so hard? It's okay, why are you doing so much? She'll have to cross a lot of barriers and hurdles to reach a point where she will still have the zeal and the resilience to say, no, I'll still do it. I just want to make it more conducive for women to work.
That's awesome. That's
being
amazing.
a single parent, I believe it is very necessary for a woman to be financially independent, to be self-reliant, whether she needs it or she doesn't need it. It is healthy to be active. It is healthy to work. And it is, I think, makes you a better person, and it gives you a lot of exposure. I want to do that for women. I was privileged to be born in the family that I was born in. I was privileged to have the education that I had. I was privileged to meet the people that I met in my life who have had positive influences. Not everybody is that lucky.
Yeah, I think everything happens for a reason.
Yes.
And every person who comes in your life teaches you
Yes.
something. That's what I believe in. So, beyond food and local products, how does Haryali contribute to social causes like poverty eradication and improving the lives of the stakeholders?
Okay, all the stakeholders, which are our vendors, I call them stakeholders because without them Haryali wouldn't exist. When you talk about social impact or talking about things that we are associated with in supporting them is the Pakistan Heart Association. They are doing fantastic work. They've been a part of our panel for the last 10 years, and they have an FOC presence at our market, every single market that is conducted.
Okay.
The Pakistan Child Heart Association is a part of it every time. They've done, I think, more than 350 surgeries free of cost completely with dealing with congenital heart disease. It is a phenomenal cause to be associated with. They are always there. We're always supporting them. Akhuwat has always been a part of Haryali.
Dr. Amjad Saqib?
Yes, I've never met him though. I've never had the privilege to do so. But they have always, for the last 10 years, they are a part of Haryali FOC completely on every event. Their food bank, their collection drives, everything. They're always present there. And just like that, there are about 10 stalls that we give completely free of charge to women. And we don't let anybody know which stall is for free and which is paid. But there are a lot of single women, widowed women, girls who have to support themselves. So we completely give it free of charge to them.
So, Mahrukh, tell me, you being a woman yourself and you're doing so much for the cause, for this cause basically, and being the first ever entrepreneur to venture into a unique concept and initiative like Haryali Market in Pakistan, what kind of obstacles and difficulties did you have to overcome to be where you are today?
A lot, but still very less than a lot of other people that I know who started businesses. Because Haryali was a new concept, so it got a lot of support because there was a lot of inquisitiveness around it. And the issues that I had was there's very less support from the government.
Okay.
If you would reach them out, I'm not saying this in a negative way.
Okay.
I feel that
the systems could be improvised.
yes, they could actually realize that if they support it, it could reach heights and you could affect lives in a way that you could actually empower so many women. Like imagine I'm just doing 200 women at a time, but if I get a little bit of support, I can do 1,000 women at a time.
And that's what we want.
Imagine that. Imagine the impact that if I could replicate this in other cities of Pakistan, but I need support for that. It can't be a five-member team or, you know, even if you've branched out digital teams or whatever, but you need a lot of support.
Fair enough.
And because Haryali is an event which is done for the community, and that is why it's a free entry event. We've never had a sponsor till date. In 14 years, Haryali is the only event.
How come?
Because I'm very...
You're very particular about
who we're taking. Because it can only be a company which is working for Pakistan, in Pakistan, and a Pakistani company.
Okay.
I've had many big FMCGs reach out to me, but I've always turned them down because I will not endorse the products that I will not feed my kids. Or I will not endorse products which are not made in Pakistan. So I'm looking for, I mean, we've always been looking for companies who are made in Pakistanis, by Pakistanis, the products are for Pakistan, to support us, because that actually fits the bill.
Great.
So, so that's the, that's a lot of trying to make this event happen with funds when sometimes you don't have it.
Yeah.
And you're falling short, but to still do it. And it's a lot of
You have
work.
a team?
We have a team. We have a digital team, we have an operations team.
Okay.
Now. 10 years it was just 6 people slaving away, and by the way, both of my kids have started work with me at the age of 16.
And that was my next question. How do you balance your life? Like, this is a full-time kind of initiative, and you've got 2 kids also to look after. So how do you, cope up with it?
You make them join the cause. You actually hire them interns. You lure them in and say, you're going to get an internship. I'll give you a letter.
You'll get a stipend also.
You'll do initially not. You do free labor. But then eventually, yes. After 6 months, they started getting a stipend. They had allowances. They had a paycheck. They had registered accounts. So it became a part of their lives as much as it was a part of mine.
And they're still with it?
The elder one isn't.
Okay.
When
he decided to move on.
He decided to move on. He got a real job, as he says it.
Okay.
And so he moved on, and now the younger one is still is completely handling it with me.
Okay, great. So Mahrukh, you've been on both sides of the fence. You've been doing a job, a salaried job, and then you've been an entrepreneur also.
Yeah.
And you're a kind of I would say, self-made person. This is not a business that you inherited from your family, The biggest leap of faith is that any employed or salaried person, whenever he thinks of coming into business, is giving up on the fixed income or salary that he's getting, even though if it's petty, but it's a fixed source of income that he's getting.
Security.
So you get security. So it's very difficult for him to take that leap of faith. What kind of advice would you like to share for all those people who want to become entrepreneurs, who've got good ideas, but they are scared to lose out on their fixed, secure job?
Don't leave the job.
Don't leave the job.
Don't leave the job.
Okay.
Until unless that is where you slave away and you do all the grunt work. You have to be pragmatic when it comes to finances. For a startup, you have to plan it. I'm not saying go to a very big company and get a business plan made, but you should know what you need bare minimum to survive, and you should have that for 6 months set aside. If you have the luxury to do that. This is when I'm speaking from a man's perspective. If a man is doing this, and because he has about 4 heads on his, on his shoulders to feed. For a woman, it's a completely different advice.
Different ball game.
Different advice. But for a woman, I'll say go for it. Just go for it, because the success rate with women, which I've seen, is at least 70% more when it comes to startups.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. And what would you credit that to?
They don't give up. They evolve constantly. They'll tweak up things. They'll tweak up the concept, the product, the whatever they're selling, the service they're giving, whatever they're doing, they will tweak up. They are very good on feedback. And I realized that I've worked with men entrepreneurs. They give up sooner. They get tired. And it's a battle of egos, probably, that they don't like my product. Okay, I'm not going to sell it. But that's not how it is. You'll take 100 rejections, and then there'll be one that will just make it happen for you. Women don't back down. I don't know about, I've never worked with women other than Pakistan, but we are very resilient. In Urdu, we'll call it dheet. But we're pretty much that. We'll keep on trying till we succeed. I know phenomenal women.
Yeah.
I consider myself very less when I'm in their presence, and they are so passionate, and they're my heroes. How they work and how they've built themselves up. So yeah, advice would be that go for it, but don't be stupid. Be smart about it. Make smarter choices. Use your network. Use the people around you. Take feedback. What are you good at? What are you not good at? Be very receptive to the feedback. They're giving it to you. Do not make it, it's never personal. I keep on advising everyone, nothing is personal in life. If you don't take it personally. Take it with a
Take
pinch
it
of
as a
salt.
learning experience, I would say.
It is. Everything is. Every single day.
Every
is.
single day.
I'm
All your
learning
mistakes.
from you today. You're learning from me.
Of course.
You know, so it's every time
Yeah.
you meet someone, as long as you keep it open, and when it comes to startups, please feedback. Money, you know, my startup did not require any money. It did at a certain time, after a certain while. So if you have limited resources, find ideas that don't require that much investment. I've met women who are providing certain services. They would, because they didn't have money to invest, and later on they did started investing in a business. So it would be smart about it, be smart about the choices that you make, but from your peers, do take feedback, do include them in the process.
Yeah, absolutely correct. So you got a few awards also, quite a few awards actually. Beacon House Award for Entrepreneurship.
Yeah, that's something that I really like.
Yeah, the Rosie Power 500 Most Influential
Yeah,
Business
that
Leaders
was-
list.
yeah. That
And
was
you're a
awesome.
panelist at Aga Khan University
Yeah.
also. So must be a very proud moment, huh? And you got the Digital Food Community Winner 2020.
The Culinary Award.
2022 award. Yeah.
But the best one is the Boss Award.
Tell me about it.
You know, Boss is Beacon House Old Students Society. And so it was a very proud moment that they had about 700 people shortlisted for who were high achievers, who had you know, done their metric or O levels from Beacon House. And out of those 700, 120 were shortlisted. Out of those 120, 21 were shortlisted, 3 in every category. There were 7 categories. So out of those three category, the one that were chosen in my category, I got the award.
Wow.
For me, it's it's a wholesome moment. Because Beacon House, my school had a lot to do with, I had such wonderful teachers who were personally taking interest in me. Or, you know, when you go to school, there's a lot of things that you go through. You go through puberty, you go through self-discovery, you go through physical changes. From ugly, you become beautiful. From beautiful, you become ugly. So there's a lot of things you go through physically, emotionally,
The
mentally.
learning curve also changes.
Learning curve also changes, but so it's you know how it was a phenomenal achievement for me. It was such an honor for me to get that award, because to be recognized by your alma mater is something else. It's very wholesome.
Yeah.
I think no award will ever match what I felt being recognized
Given
by
that.
my school.
So you told me in the beginning of the program that you wanted to become someone and you wanted to prove to the world that Mahrukh Beyg is a name, is a brand, and I don't want to be recognized by a relation. I want to be
by
recognized by
association.
myself.
Yeah.
So now that, mashallah, you've made a name for yourself by venturing into this Haryali market,
Ji.
what's next? Do you want to do something different, or you want to grow on this?
I want to grow on this, but I know I'm going to do something else too. I don't know what I'm going to do.
Totally different?
I don't know.
Okay.
But there's this thing that I have this. I've been saying, I have about 2 years to keep on doing this, but I need to do something else. And my kids are like, what do you want to do now? I say, I don't know, something new. But it will be something to impact society in a more
Inshallah.
positive way.
Inshallah. That's great.
It will be more inclusive. Because it has to elevate the society.
What you're doing is basically you're showing light to those women specifically who need help, who need support, and who don't know what to do with their lives. You know, this is a kind of a breakthrough initiative, and I hope this is replicated and it continues.
Inshallah.
Any message that you would like to give to the youngsters, the youth of Pakistan?
Yes, I advise them to fail more and be proud of every single failure. Be extremely resilient, and the most important thing, please don't doubt yourself. Self-belief, manifest it. You manifest it. I have
Believe in yourself.
Believe in yourself. You have to manifest everything you believe in. I'll keep on, when you talk, whatever you talk to yourself, you start believing it. If you say, I'm great, I will do this, you will eventually do this. And if you keep on telling yourself, I will not be able to do this, I can't do this, I don't think so, I'm cut out for it, you will eventually prove yourself right. Because in the end, you always prove yourself right. Believe in yourself, that's the most important thing, and have faith.
And
Have faith, absolute faith in whatever is given to you is a gift,
yeah,
and whatever is taken away from you is a gift.
absolutely. I'll just tweak it a bit. When you said fail more,
Yeah.
don't do it intentionally. If it happens, it happens. But learn from your failures. I think
Yeah,
that's what she
yeah.
wants to say. That every mistake, every failure teaches you something. Now it's up to you to make it a learning and use it to grow, or to keep it and keep on repenting it, right? So Mahrukh, thank you so very much.
Thank
It
you.
was
Most
such
welcome.
a pleasure talking to you, and the kind of energy I've seen in you, I'm sure the next venture is just around the corner. You
Let's
won't be
hope.
able to hold it for more than that. But thank you very much, and I wish you all the best.
Thank you,
Okay,
too.
keep
Thank
on
you
growing
so
like
much.
that, and
Thank you.
helping Pakistan, the brand Pakistan,
Yes.
to become much bigger. With this, we come to the end of this program of Sky is the Limit. Inshallah, I'll see you in another episode with a new guest.